when I think of gold and silver, I think that when gold in 2024 broke through 2000 for the third or fourth time, I forget which it was, I think they lost control of the gold market. And when I say they, I'm referring to the banks that were forever short. You get the data every week, big short position. Who owns it? Well, it's mostly the commercials, which are the banks. And they were always the only shorter there was the banks. Imagine if the banks weren't short. Where the hell would the price of gold be? And then I think they finally realized, okay, look, we can't hold this thing back. So that next thing you know, gold goes from 2,000 to 4,000. Now, I think the same thing happened in silver. I don't know what the magic number was, whether it was 35 or 40 or some number like that. And of course, they've lost control of it. And I think everybody knows they've lost control of it. When you watch the day-to-day data of silver, you know that they can't possibly supply the demand. But we've known that for 5 years, but because they had inventories to work with, they were able to supply, and of course, with the paper supply that they had, they were able to meet that physical demand through the inventories and were able to meet the demand in the COMEX through paper shorting. And I think now they realize, okay, well, that's game's over because now we can't supply the physical anymore. We know that. Yesterday, overnight, there's probably something like 70,000 new ounces demanded. That's $200 million, 200 million in a day. Some guy comes in and buys 200 million of physical silver on a COMEX. Like some of the demand statistics that we can look at during the year. The latest one being in October, when India about 55 million ounces of silver in a month. 55. Right. I always annualize these things. That's 660 million ounces. If you did it every month, we only mine 800. How can a country buy 55? You'd think it was literally impossible. And we have the same sort of thing going on in the COMEX, where maybe this month we'll do between 50 and 60 million ounces of deliveries in a month. Well, now I know it doesn't happen every month, but geez, if it was for 12 months, it would essentially take all the mine supply. But, the Chinese, and this is a point, have said that as of Jan 1st, we're not exporting any silver.
Right.
Unless you get a permit. And they were big exporters, okay?
Right.
So that could be 50 or 100 million ounces. It's not coming out of the market. When the gentleman at Morgan Stanley suggested the new model portfolio 60-20-20, with 20 being precious metals.
Right.
Whoa, my God. Right. Blow the lid off. I mean, that just blows the lid off. Can you imagine if they really wanted to go to 20, where the prices of gold and silver would have to be? We wouldn't even recognize the number. Right. Like it could be like $1,000 for silver to get to 20% silver.
Yeah.
And who knows what for gold. I don't know what the number would be, but it'd be multiples of 10,000 for sure. It's gold, silver, should go back to 15. Okay. It's only mined at 8 to 1.
Right.
It's in the Earth's crust at like 10 or 11 to 1. Why the hell should it have traded at 100 to 1? And it's already down at what, 67, 68 to 1? I think it's going right to 15, 1 to 15. Okay. So let's say if the gold price is 4,500, which is near, makes the calculation easy. Silver should be at $300. That's where it should be. That's without a physical shortage, okay?
Banks have completely lost control of the gold and silver markets. After gold broke through $2,000 and silver smashed through $35 to $40, the decades-long manipulation scheme has collapsed. The physical shortage is now undeniable. India imported 55 million ounces of silver in 1 month alone, an annualized rate that exceeds global mining production. Meanwhile, China has stopped silver exports, removing 100+ million ounces from the market. This physical squeeze is coinciding with seismic institutional shifts.
We only produce 1% more gold in a year. Okay? So fine, you go from 1 to 101. How do you go from 1 to 2? The price has to change. The price of the underlying thing, the price of the commodity, the price of the shares. That's the only way that can go up.
Investable assets, that is, if that happens.
Crazy. I don't even know how much investable assets are there in probably hundreds of trillions or something, right?
Right.
So you're probably, I'd say, well, okay, that's 40 trillion that has to go into hard assets. It's not just gold, not just silver, by the way. But that's a lot of money to go in something that probably has a market cap of 2 trillion today. Well, let's take a gold producer, okay? You got one gold producer, let's say his ASIC is 1,000 and the price of gold's 3,000. He's making two. But the other guy's cost is 2,500. He's only making $500.
Mm-hmm.
Well, give him an extra 1,500. His profit just went from 500 to 2,000, quadrupled. The other guys went from 2,000 to 3,500, went up by 75%. Well, what do you want to make on your money? A quadruple or 75%?
Right.
I think I'll take the quadruple. I probably own 97% of all my assets in gold and silver, okay? I sleep well at night. My gold, silver physical position is probably only a small part of that. And I am about 50-50, but I like silver. I'd like silver to be like 70-30 by the end of next year. And I won't have bought or sold any. Well, Samsung develops a battery that charges in 9 minutes. Can anybody figure out why that's a good thing?
Right.
It goes 900 kilometers. Can anyone figure out why that's a world change? And they use a kilogram of silver in this solid state battery. By the way, they use manganese too, which I'm a big owner of, not the metal, but the companies. And they say if that could capture 20% of the electric vehicle market, it would consume all the silver produced in a year.
My goodness gracious.
Yeah.
And that's just that. That's just that battery.
One thing.
That's not solar panels and electronics.
Is it any wonder that these Asian countries keep buying these materials?
Right.
So I think that's a big change that's coming. And they're going to be starting to produce these things, I think, for consumption in 28 vehicles. So that's 27 production, which means maybe buying the metal in 26 to make sure you got enough. And, was there a shortage? Yes, there is. Well, you're screwed already. But the stocks are way behind the prices in my mind. I mean, I think we got 30% upside here with the prices doing nothing. Just report the earnings. Like, we've had these prices go up and the stocks haven't followed.
Right.
They haven't done as much as because it's not the percentage. Like, should never expect that gold goes up 25% and the stocks go up 25%. No. If the gold goes up 25, stocks would probably go up, 2 to 5 times that amount, i.e. 50 to 125%. We're not getting that. The last move in silver, we haven't even got it in the stocks yet. Oh, I own so many great stocks that are overlooked. Almost anything. I mean, I own every silver junior there. You could say they're all overlooked because people are still thinking silver's at $25 or 30.
Yeah.
Well, folks, it's double that price. Okay.
Right.
These stocks they'll all be multi-baggers. By the way, I like this Don Durrett guy. Okay. Did you interview Don Durrett?
I've not, but I know who he is.
Okay. But Don, I love what Don does because Don says, look, at my price for silver is 150. This stock over here, Silver Junior, that's going to go up by 10 times.
Morgan Stanley now recommends 20% portfolio allocation to precious metals, which would require astronomical price increases. Silver's fundamentals are turbocharged by Samsung's solid-state battery breakthrough, using 1 kilogram of silver per battery that could consume all annual silver production if adopted by just 20% of EVs. With mining stocks severely undervalued and banks potentially becoming buyers rather than short sellers, Eric is allocating 70% of his portfolio to silver assets, expecting the metal to reach $200 plus as the gold-silver ratio collapses from 68 to 1 back to 15 to 1.
Like, I'm buying Highcroft big time here. I own 40% of the company now. It's a company with a property in Nevada, which we like Nevada. It's gold and silver. Their equivalency is 1.5 billion ounces of silver. I think on an equivalency basis, they might have more silver than any silver company. They're not mining it yet, okay? They're not mining it. But I'll guarantee you, with the price of silver at 60 on its way to 100 or 200, which Michael Oliver's suggesting might get there in the next few quarters. I'm emphasizing the word might get there next few quarters. That's not far from here, okay, guys?
Right.
That Hycroft's going back into production, okay? Or someone's going to try to take him out for sure. I might be standing at the gate holding it closed, but that's
Well, let's do it. I just want to go back and do the math. You own 40% of the company, and they have how much potential silver in the ground?
Well, they already have a 1.5 billion equivalent ounces of silver reserve. 1.5 billion. Okay, so let me go there. Here we go. Okay, so at $200, they'll only have 300 billion of metal value. They'll only have 300 billion of metal value, and the market cap's 1 billion of metal value. One. Now, if it goes to 200, what would their profit be?
Goodness.
Would you give them $200? Wait, sorry, give them well, they got to let's say make 150. That's 75% of 300. It'd make, what's that? 2.25 billion. It's 225 billion. They'd make 225. Oh, I got to tax it. They'd make 150 billion. They'll earn 150 billion. And the market cap's 1. Well, what's the upside here, guys? Well, let me think. Would that be like 150 times? Maybe. Oh, when I listen to Michael Oliver, who's a student of markets, okay? He's more of a student of markets than I am. And he points out that in a number of those markets where it went down, it went right back up again. Some that hardly even went down, but it always went right back up again. And we've had a time, we had a lull in the mining stocks here. I think it was in October, came right back up again, right? So I think that I think that the fact that people realize you got to shift from paper to physical, that will provide a real buttress for the gold and silver if the market starts fading. So even yesterday, when the market got beat up pretty good, gold and silver did okay. I think silver was way down and came up, and gold went up. Today, we've got the markets doing very well. And of course, now gold's starting to run here. Silver, which was down, is almost back to break even. So I think that people will see through this and hold in there. Because, if they're trying to go from 1% to 2%, that's a lot of buying. I bought a piece of the Galena mine from America's Silver because they needed the money. And then Paul Hewitt, who was running Karora sold Karora. I did very well by Paul. He did a great job there. And he'd been my advisor on Galena board, just, to keep me updated on what was going on down at the mine. Because I should tell the listeners, I know nothing about mining, okay? Or geology, luckily, okay?
You can do math, though. You're good with math.
Anyway, he came along and said, look at Eric, would you vend in the Galena, and I'm going to go in and take over control of running USA Silver or America's Silver. I said, sure, I'll vend it in. And I vended it in for some money for some shares of USA. I own, I think, 20% of USA, just under 20%. And of course, the price of silver has gone bananas. And it was a low, high cost producer, if you will, although they have very high grades of Galena, but they have lower grades down in Mexico. And Paul is a guy who gets things done, and he gets them done efficiently in the mine. I know nothing about mining. He knows everything about mining. He's done mining all his life. So he's done a phenomenal job here. Took over something called the Crescent Mine, which is a silver deposit beside Galena. They'll process the ore at Galena, so it'll be very efficient that way. They don't have to do it their own mill. So I think it's got lots of upside here. And I wouldn't be surprised that there's times in our lives between Paul and I that we might think of other good things that might go into America's gold and silver. That would be very positive. Yeah, let me think about that one.
You might have a few suggestions.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so I like that. I'm a big owner.
A couple others that we've discussed in the past that I know you've held for a long time are Newfound and Free Gold.
Yeah. Well, let me talk about Free Gold first. They just came out with a very interesting announcement 2 days ago, where the arsenic content in their ore was something like 7%, and they're using a new process put out by Dundee Precious Metals, something. And they designed something to get the bad stuff out of the ore. And the content of the bad stuff went from 7% to 0.17%. And it turns it into a glass. So it's inert. It's some new process.